The inspiration for Bridge came from an interview I conducted with a vitamin distributor. He had told me that recently one of his marquee products was in extremely high demand, but that he wasn't able to fulfill more orders just due to the weird payment overlap that he had to deal with between his suppliers and his customers. I found it somewhat odd that a distributor that had been in business for over 15 years with a very strong track record had trouble getting more funds from a bank in a time like this to support his business when the demand was clearly there and he would be good for the money. And I talked to him further and conducted more research and realized that it was really tough for small and mid-sized businesses to develop large and convenient credit lines. Mainly there was just cookie cutter offerings that banks put together. And what struck me was that these banks weren't taking advantage of data in real time on these businesses when deciding on how to allocate capital to them. It was resulting in a process that really wasn't optimized for either the business or the bank, and that often the banks would be allocating less capital than they really should or could be because they're relying on generalized models. And on the business end, it was stifling their growth because the bank wasn't able to or didn't want to conduct the diligence on how much capital they could really be allocated at any given moment. So after discussing as a group, we realized we could create a really powerful solution to this problem through leveraging AI and analytics by creating a web app that would take advantage of the real-time data these businesses have to determine how much capital we could allocate at any given moment in a safe way, helping both the business grow and allowing us to serve a role that traditional banks aren't equipped for or optimized for.
From our pitches, I also learned how important finding the right fit for businesses would be for us. In my pitch, the potential customer didn't take on any debt and currently doesn't owe anyone anything. So despite them being in the size of business that we were looking for, we would have to find companies that rely on taking on some debt and focus more on providing products rather than a service.
Fortunately, not all businesses we spoke to gave this sort of feedback. In fact, multiple resellers and distributors we spoke to showed significant interest in our product. Speaking with the distributor who I had originally spoken to as inspiration for Bridge, he was fairly interested in the product. However, he was somewhat skeptical of the ability to implement such a grandiose solution. Along with this, he really emphasized that it would be essential that Bridge integrated common business softwares such as QuickBooks and any other softwares businesses use to run their business, so that it wouldn't take extra work to extract value out of Bridge. Additionally, another individual we spoke to, who was a reseller, was very excited about Bridge. However, he was more focused on aggressively scaling his business at this point, which may have made Bridge more relevant. One thing he also mentioned is that in his field of reselling, access to capital is one of the main competitive advantages successful resellers have. To this end, he said that unless we created some sort of threshold to prevent novices from flocking to Bridge, it would be very unlikely that many established players would want to use our product over fear of creating competition and supporting a solution that would only hurt them in the long run. And as for the size of the actual opportunity addressable by Bridge, we realized after talking with multiple resellers and distributors who we felt would be good customers for Bridge, that roughly 20% of their sales would only be possible if they had access to the capital Bridge would be able to offer them. From there, we looked at how large the overall market and amount of sales conducted by resellers and distributors is. According to Dun & Bradstreet, it's over $8 trillion annually. We then decided that only roughly 10% of those resellers and distributors would really be good customers for Bridge. And from there, we used the original 20% approximation to figure out how much of those sales would need to leverage loans offered by Bridge. We then applied a lending rate of 5% over a period of 1 month and came to the conclusion that over $500 million in interest could be accrued as a result of using Bridge. meaning that Bridge easily has the potential to issue tens of billions of dollars a year in loans, as well as make hundreds of millions of dollars off of issuing those loans, making the size of the opportunity quite immense.
Throughout this process, we learned a lot, both about business and the dynamics of a team. And focusing on the business, we learned first and foremost that customer interviews are essential. We learned a lot from our first round of interviews, finding pain points from the businesses we talked to, and it was very easy from there to find a solution to some of the pains that they were experiencing. And going forward, we would likely need to find a group of resellers to focus on and fit their needs and continue to work with to find their pain point before we expand and refining our solution to that pain point. And from there, integrating our service into the channels that they already use would make it super easy for them to integrate and would make the adoption very, very likely. And focusing on team dynamics, it's kind of hard to coordinate. We all work on different schedules, and the class time is kind of the only time that we all have in common. So we worked some strange hours on the project. And we also learned that customer discovery and pitching to potential customers is a lot less intimidating than it seems. We were all able to do it, and we had no real problems.
Finally, we need to analyze whether our idea is a viable opportunity in the real world. The big picture answer is that our idea has the potential to succeed, but the chances of success are hindered due to several difficult hurdles. On the plus side, our services would have a very large addressable market and even have the potential to expand the existing market. Secondly, as our services mature, we will be able to provide a consistently more valuable product over time. However, there are some significant barriers to entry in this space. The process of acquiring capital, proving service reliability, and acquiring initial data to build customer models would be a huge financial risk and a very time-consuming endeavor. This concludes our presentation, and thank you so much for listening.